Before we can start talking about section 5.3, we need to take some time to review working with evaluating algebraic expressions and also talk about interval notation. So let's first handle the evaluating of expressions. So this is on page 8 of our workbook. The value of an algebraic expression depends on the values of the variables within the expression. Evaluate the expressions for the given values of the variables. So what they mean here is that wherever I see an x in this expression, I'm going to replace it by a -2. Wherever I see a y, I'm going to replace it by -7. And wherever I see, I'm going to replace it by a -12. So, and what I think is always best here is when you're sticking these in, these values for these variables, wrap some parentheses around it. So if I'm replacing x by -2, I'm going to have that -2 in parentheses. If I'm replacing y by -7, I'm going to have that in parentheses. And that c by -12, I'm going to again wrap that in parentheses. And so now I just follow my order of operations. So that's -2. 4 times the -7 is -28. -2 times the -12 will be a +24. And then that's going to add up to -6. And you can do that on your calculator pretty quickly. So if I just type that first line here in my calculator, now you do have to be a little bit careful. Since that first number is a -2, I do need to use the minus sign down here, the negative sign, not the subtraction. And then I'm going to type plus 4 parentheses -7. Now subtraction sign. So notice how it's different. Subtraction is a little bit lower than the negative sign. 2 parentheses -12. We hit enter, and we do get -6. So let's try number 2. And what we're going to do is do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and plug in the numbers that I see. So here my A value is 31. My B value is 22. My C value is -4. I can either go through and follow my order of operations. So it'd be -31, subtract 44, plus a -20. Or, if you don't want to do it that way, just stick it in your calculator. Just go ahead and take the opposite of 31, subtract 2 parentheses 22, plus 5 parentheses the opposite of -4. Either way, you're going to get -95. Now, when working with our relations, which a special type of relation are called functions, so you might be asked to determine the function values. It really means to do exactly the same thing we just did. This problem here means evaluate 9x minus 8 for x equals 0. So here we're letting g of x equals be 9x minus 8. They're asking us find if g is 0. All that means is evaluate the 9x minus 8 for x equals 0. So you just plug it in. 9 times 0 minus 8. and that's going to just give you -8. So my answer over here would be a -8. If I say find g of 2, again, that just means evaluate 9x minus 8 for x equals 2. So this time I plug in 2 for x. And that would give me 9 times 2 is 18. 18 minus 8 is 10. So my answer here would be 10. Same thing here. Just evaluate 9x minus 8 for x equals -1. So they're always telling you inside here what you're using for your variable, what number you're plugging in for your variable. And that should work out to -17. So it means the same thing as these problems up here, it's just the notation's different. So down here, we're going to let h of x equals 4x squared minus 2, find h of 0, find h of 4, and find h of -5. So we're just going to plug in. So first I'm going to plug in x equals 0. Well, that'd be 0, subtract 2 is a -2. Next one would be 4, replacing x by 4. 4 squared is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. Minus 2 is 62. And again, you can also just do it on your calculator like we did before. And this last one, we're going to plug in a -5 for x. So that would be a 25 times 4 is 100. 100 minus 2 is 98. All right, let's turn the page. Here we're doing the same thing. Just go ahead and evaluate here. 1 over, we're going to replace x by 6. 6 minus 4 is 2, so we'll get a 2 down in the denominator. So that'd be equal to 1/2. Or for your fans of decimals, you could do 0.5. Alex is sometimes picky what they want for the answer. So sometimes they might say, hey, write the answer as an integer or as a fraction. Well, then you'd have to write it as a fraction. Let's do the -3. So we're just plugging in. -3 and -4, those add up to -7, so we're going to get a -1/7. Let's do 5. So that's going to be 5 minus 4 is 1. 1 over 1, that's just a fancy way of saying 1. Now let's plug in 4. That gives us 1 over 0. And remember, division by 0 is undefined. In fact, if you try to do that in your calculator, it's going to stick out its tongue at you. And by the way, let's go ahead and talk about how, if I wanted to evaluate these on my calculator, how we would do them. So let me go back and do the first couple, and then we'll hit this one here. So what you want to notice here, if I got on this TI-30XS, I have this fraction key here. So I could literally type my fraction key, type my 1, hit my down arrow, parentheses 6, subtract 4, and hit enter. Does the work for me. So if I were to do B, I would do my fraction key, 1, hit my down arrow, parentheses, -3, subtract 4. Enter. Doing the work for me. Let's see what happens when we do this last one here. So my fraction key, 1 over parentheses 4 minus 4. Gives me a divide by 0 error. That tells you something wrong, it's undefined. So actually, for this function, I can plug in any real number I want to, except for 0. So my domain would be all real numbers except for 0. Let's try number 6. So again, I'm going to replace x by 2 here. That's just the square root of 0, which is 0. Let's try this next one. So I'm going to replace x by 3. That's the square root of 1, which is 1. All right, let's do the next one. We're going to plug in the 6. That's the square root of 4, which should be 2. And the last one, we're going to do 0. Now, square root of -2, that is not a real number. So this is not a real number. We will see later in the course this would be an imaginary number. We'll have to write it in terms of I, but we're not there yet. So if I wanted to do these square roots on my calculator, it's like this first one, my square root key. If I look down here next to my 7 key, there's my x squared, and in green there's this square root key. So I'm going to hit the second function, the second key, excuse me, and then hit that x squared key, and that gives me the square root. So if I want to enter, say, C here, I would do 6, subtract 2, hit enter, gives me 2. If I do my second square root key, and if I type 0, subtract 2, I'm going to get a domain error, because it's not a real number.